The conference room at Dad's financial advisor's office felt too small for the tension crackling through it. I sat at the far end of the mahogany table, watching my older brother Marcus count on his fingers while my sister Vanessa pulled up mortgage calculators on her phone. "So that's $1 million each, give or take," Marcus said, his voice bright with excitement. "After realtor fees and taxes, probably $900K per person. That'll cover my kids' college funds completely." Vanessa nodded enthusiastically. "And I can finally open that yoga studio franchise I've been researching. This is perfect timing." I'm Olivia Taylor, 34 years old, and I'd been sitting silently through this family meeting for 45 minutes, watching my siblings plan their futures with money they thought they were getting. Dad cleared his throat. "Now, we need to be realistic about the timeline. Martin here says the market's hot right now for lakefront properties." He gestured to the realtor sitting beside him, a polished man in his 50s with two white teeth. "But we should expect the sale process to take at least 60 to 90 days. Martin nodded. "Given the property's size and location, I'm confident we'll get full asking price, possibly more. Lake Michigan estates in this condition don't come on the market often. The dock alone adds significant value, and the boathouse renovation you completed last year was excellent." I almost spoke up then, almost mentioned that I'd paid for that boathouse renovation, but I stayed quiet, waiting. "Can we talk about the split?" Vanessa asked. "I mean, it's equal four ways, right? Dad, Marcus, Olivia and me." Dad shifted uncomfortably. "Well, technically the property is in my name, but yes, I always intended to split the proceeds among you kids. It's what your mother would have wanted." Marcus leaned forward. "Dad, no offense, but you should keep a portion. Maybe we do 25% to you, and the rest split three ways among us. You've maintained the place all these years." "I've barely been there since your mother passed," Dad said quietly. "It feels right to give it to you kids. You have more memories there than I do now." That was true at least. The Lake Michigan estate had been in our family for 32 years. Mom and Dad bought it when Marcus was 6, Vanessa was 4, and I was 2. Summers there were the bedrock of my childhood. Fishing off the dock with Mom, learning to sail, reading on the screened porch during thunderstorms. Then Mom got sick, pancreatic cancer, fast and brutal. She died when I was 26, and Dad never really recovered. He stopped going to the lake house, stopped maintaining it properly, stopped caring about much of anything for a while. "The important thing," Martin interjected smoothly, "is that we get the listing agreement signed today so we can move forward. I have photographers scheduled for Tuesday, and we can have it on the MLS by Friday." He slid a folder across the table to Dad. "Just need your signature on these documents, Mr. Taylor, and we're all set." Dad picked up his pen, flipping through the pages. "This feels surreal. 32 years of memories reduced to paperwork." "It's the right choice, Dad," Vanessa said firmly. "None of us use it anymore. It's just sitting there empty most of the year, costing money in property taxes and maintenance." "Actually," I said quietly, speaking for the first time, "it's not empty." Everyone turned to look at me. Marcus frowned. "What do you mean?" "I drove by there last month, and it looked closed up. The main house was closed because I was having the foundation work completed, but the property manager keeps it occupied regularly, checking systems, running water, maintaining the grounds." "Property manager?" Dad looked confused. "Olivia, I don't have a property manager. I've just been paying the basics, taxes, utilities." "I know," I said. "I hired the property manager in 2019. Vanessa laughed. "Why would you hire a property manager for Dad's house?" My phone rang before I could answer. I glanced at the screen. Michael Brennan, my attorney. Perfect timing. "Excuse me, I need to take this," I said, answering and putting it on speaker. "Michael, hi. I'm in a meeting with my family." "You're on speaker." "Olivia, good timing actually." Michael's professional voice filled the room. "I have the updated title report you requested on the Lake Michigan property. Everything's confirmed. You purchased the property from Lakeshore Holdings LLC in February 2019 for $2.8 million. The deed is properly recorded with the county. All taxes are current and paid through your escrow account, and the title insurance is active." The silence in the room was deafening. Dad's pen slipped from his fingers, clattering onto the table. "Additionally," Michael continued, oblivious to the bomb he'd just dropped, "the foundation work you authorized is complete, and the contractor is ready for final payment." The total came in at $127,000, which is within the budget we discussed. "Should I approve the payment from the property maintenance account?" "Yes, approve it," I said, keeping my voice steady. Thanks, Michael. I'll call you back later. I ended the call and looked around the table. 4 faces stared at me in varying degrees of shock. You bought the lake house. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. In 2019. Yes, that's impossible, Vanessa said sharply. Dad owns that house. We've been paying property taxes. No, I interrupted gently. I've been paying property taxes, along with insurance, maintenance, utilities, and about $600,000 in renovations and repairs over the past 6 years. Martin the realtor looked extremely uncomfortable. Mr. Taylor, were you aware of this situation? Dad shook his head slowly, his face pale. I had no idea. Olivia, what are you talking about? How could you buy our family's lake house? I pulled out my tablet and opened a folder I'd prepared months ago, knowing this day would eventually come. In 2018, you were in financial trouble, Dad. Do you remember? His face flushed. That was a difficult time. The market downturn, my investments. You were going to lose the lake house, I said quietly. You'd taken out a second mortgage to cover Marcus's business loan that defaulted. Then a third mortgage when Vanessa needed money for her divorce. The property had $2.8 million in liens against it, and you were 4 months behind on payments. Marcus stood abruptly. That's not true. Dad never said, because he was trying to protect you, I said, both of you. He didn't want you to feel guilty about the money he'd given you, even though it was destroying him financially. I turned to Dad. You remember, don't you, the foreclosure notice that came in January 2019? Dad's eyes were wet. How do you know about that? Because you called me at 2 a.m. crying. You said you were going to lose Mom's house, the place where we'd been happiest as a family. You said you'd failed us all. The memory of that phone call still made my chest tight. Dad's voice breaking, as he explained how he'd tried to save Marcus's tech startup and fund Vanessa's fresh start after her divorce. How he'd mortgaged and remortgaged the lake house until there was nothing left. Vanessa's voice was small. I didn't know it was that bad. None of us did, Marcus said, sitting back down heavily. Dad, why didn't you tell us? I'm your father. I'm supposed to provide, to protect. I couldn't admit that I'd failed. Dad looked at me. But Olivia, you were just starting your career. How did you come up with $2.8 million? I'd been working in patent law for 3 years, I said, specializing in pharmaceutical patents. I'd built up some significant savings, and I had excellent credit. I took out a loan for part of it, used my savings for the rest, and bought the house from the LLC that was about to foreclose on it. Why didn't you tell me? Dad's voice cracked. Why did you let me think I still owned it? Because you needed to believe you hadn't lost everything. Because Marcus and Vanessa needed to believe their choices hadn't cost us Mom's house. And because I could handle the financial burden without making anyone feel guilty. I pulled up documents on my tablet. I've kept every receipt, every payment, every expense. Property taxes average $42,000 annually. Insurance is $18,000. Maintenance, utilities, and the property manager run about $65,000 per year. Then there were the major repairs. New roof in 2020, $89,000. HVAC system replacement in 2021, $47,000. The dock restoration in 2022, $156,000. The boathouse renovation last year, $94,000. And the foundation work that just finished, $127,000. Marcus was doing math on his phone. That's over $1.2 million in 6 years, plus the original $2.8 million purchase, $1,247,000 in carrying costs and improvements, to be exact, I confirmed, plus $2.8 million for the purchase. I'm into the property for just over $4 million total. Vanessa looked stunned. How could you afford all that on a lawyer's salary? I don't just practice law anymore. In 2020, I started consulting on patent strategy for biotech firms. Then I began taking equity positions in some of the companies I advised. 3 of them went public. I've done well enough to spend $4 million on a house, and not tell anyone. Marcus's tone was sharp now, defensive. What was your plan, Olivia? Keep it secret forever. Let Dad sign papers to sell property he doesn't own. My plan was to preserve our family's legacy, I said calmly. Mom loved that house. She wanted us to always have it, to pass it down to our kids. I couldn't let it be sold to strangers, because of some bad financial decisions. Bad financial decisions. Vanessa's voice rose. You mean helping me and Marcus? I mean Dad overextending himself, trying to solve everyone's problems with money, instead of having honest conversations about what was affordable. Dad flinched, but he didn't argue. Martin cleared his throat awkwardly. Well, this is obviously a family matter to resolve. I'll step out and give you some privacy. He gathered his papers and practically fled the room. After he left, Marcus turned on me. You've been lying to us for 6 years. I haven't lied once. I just didn't volunteer information that would have caused unnecessary pain. Unnecessary. Olivia, we just spent 45 minutes planning how to spend money from selling a house you own. You let us make complete fools of ourselves. You made yourselves fools by assuming the house was Dad's to sell, without ever actually verifying it, I said quietly. When was the last time either of you visited? When did you last contribute to its upkeep, or even ask Dad how he was managing the expenses? Silence. I've been up there 18 times in the past year, I continued. I spent 2 weeks there last summer, working remotely. I've maintained Mom's garden, kept her books in the library, preserved every room exactly as she decorated it. Where were you? Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. That's not fair. We have our own lives, our own. Exactly, you have your own lives, and I made sure the lake house stayed preserved, so that when you were ready to care again, it would still be there. Dad stood and walked to the window, his back to us. You should have told me, Olivia. You should have let me know what you were doing. Would you have accepted it? If I'd told you in 2019 that I was buying the house, would you have let me? He turned around, tears streaming down his face. No, I would have felt like a failure, like I couldn't provide for my own family. Exactly, so I made it easy. I let you believe what you needed to believe, and I took care of what needed taking care of. Marcus was staring at his phone, his jaw tight. So what now? You own the house. We have no claim to it. We're just what? Supposed to thank you for your generosity. You're supposed to understand that family means protecting each other, even when it costs you something, I said. Yes, I spent $4 million. Yes, it was a financial stretch at times, but that house represents every good memory I have of Mom. It was worth it. Easy to say when you apparently have unlimited money, Vanessa muttered. I don't have unlimited money. I have money I earned through very hard work and very careful planning, and I chose to invest it in preserving something that mattered. Dad returned to the table, sitting down heavily. What are your plans for the property, Olivia? Are you going to keep it? Sell it yourself? I'm going to keep it. I'm setting up a family trust so that it can never be sold outside the family. Each of you will have full access to use it whenever you want. Your kids can bring their kids there someday. It'll stay in the Taylor family for generations, exactly as Mom wanted. Even after this, Marcus gestured around the room. After we just tried to sell your house out from under you, you didn't know it was my house. And yes, even after this, you're still my family. You're still my brother and sister. We just need to have more honest conversations going forward. Vanessa wiped her eyes. I needed that money, Olivia. The yoga studio investment. It's a real opportunity. I have the business plan ready, the location scouted. I was counting on this. Then show me the business plan, I said. If it's solid, I'll consider investing. As a business investment, not a gift, but that's separate from the house. She looked surprised. You'd do that, if the numbers make sense. Yes, I invest in businesses all the time. Why not yours? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. My kids have never been to the lake house, he admitted finally. They're 7 and 9, and I keep saying we'll go next summer, but we never do. Then come this summer, I said. I'll be there for most of July. Bring the kids. Let them learn to fish off the dock like we did. Just like that. After I just accused you of lying and making fools of us, you were shocked and defensive. I get it. But yes, just like that. The house is there for family. That includes you, your wife and your kids. Dad's voice was rough. Olivia, I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't feel like enough. You don't have to say anything, Dad. I know the last 6 years have been hard. Losing Mom, the financial stress, feeling like you failed. But you didn't fail. You raised 3 kids who all turned out okay, even if we're messy and complicated sometimes. You turned out more than okay, he said. You turned out extraordinary. Your mother would be so proud. The mention of Mom broke something in me. My eyes burned, but I kept my voice steady. She loved that house. Remember how she'd wake up early just to watch the sunrise over the lake? How she'd spend hours in that garden talking to her tomato plants? Dad smiled through his tears. She said they grew better when she encouraged them. The garden is beautiful now. I said. I hired a horticulturist to maintain it exactly as she designed it. Every plant she put in is still there, thriving. Vanessa made a choked sound. I haven't thought about Mom's garden in years. I'd forgotten about the tomatoes. She made the best BLTs, Marcus added softly. Remember? She'd picked the tomatoes that morning, still warm from the sun. We sat in silence for a moment, each of us lost in memories. Finally, Dad spoke. I need to apologize to all of you. I created this mess by not being honest about the financial situation in 2018. I thought I was protecting you, but I was really just protecting my own ego. We all made mistakes, I said, but we can move forward differently. How much do you still owe on the property? Marcus asked. You said you took out a loan. I paid off the loan in 2022. The house is owned free and clear. His eyes widened. You paid off a multi-million-dollar loan in 3 years. The biotech companies I invested in did very well. I had the cash, so I eliminated the debt. Vanessa shook her head in disbelief. You're like a completely different person than I thought you were. I assumed you were just a lawyer, living in your modest condo, driving that old Subaru. I am just a lawyer. I live in a modest condo because I like it. I drive an old Subaru because it's reliable. The money doesn't change who I am. Clearly, Marcus said. Most people who drop $4 million on a house would want everyone to know. Most people aren't trying to preserve their family legacy without making their father feel like a failure. I countered. Dad reached across the table and took my hand. I did feel like a failure, for a long time. But knowing you did this, that you cared enough to protect what mattered, that helps. Good. Because I need you to do something for me now. Anything. Start coming back to the lake house. Bring your memories of Mom there. Help me maintain what she built. You've been avoiding it because it hurts, but that house needs you. His grip tightened on my hand. I will, I promise. Vanessa cleared her throat. I owe you an apology, Olivia. I've been jealous. Honestly. You always seemed to have everything together while I was struggling. I didn't realize you were carrying all this weight. I chose to carry it, and for what it's worth, you don't seem like you're struggling. You've rebuilt your life after a difficult divorce. You're an amazing mother. You have a lot to be proud of, but I don't have $4 million to throw around. Neither did I, 6 years ago. I made sacrifices, worked ridiculous hours, took calculated risks. You could do the same if you wanted to, but you don't have to. There's more than one way to be successful. Marcus stood and paced to the window. I don't know how to process this. Part of me is grateful. Part of me is angry that you didn't trust us with the truth. And part of me is ashamed that I needed you to rescue Dad, because my business failure put him in that position. Your business didn't fail because you weren't talented or hardworking, I said. It failed because the market shifted and your timing was bad. That happens. Dad shouldn't have mortgaged the house to fund it, but that was his choice, not yours. Still, if I'd been more responsible, if we're playing that game, then Vanessa's divorce shouldn't have cost Dad money either. But life happens. People need help sometimes. The problem wasn't you needing help, it was Dad trying to solve everything with money he didn't have, instead of having honest conversations about what was possible. Dad nodded slowly. That's fair. I made you kids feel like you couldn't come to me without money being the answer. I taught you the wrong lessons, so we learn better ones now, I said, starting with honesty about the lake house and what happens next. What does happen next? Vanessa asked. You said something about a trust. I'll work with my attorney to establish a family trust. It'll ensure the property stays in the Taylor family, passes to the next generation, and can't be sold or mortgaged. Each of us will have usage rights, and eventually our kids will too. What if one of us needs money and wants to sell their share? Marcus asked. You can't sell what you don't own. The trust will own the property. You'll have the right to use it, not to dispose of it. That's the point, preserving it for generations. He didn't look entirely happy with that answer, but he nodded. I have one condition, I added. Everyone contributes to the annual maintenance costs going forward. It doesn't have to be equal shares. We can base it on income or something fair. But everyone chips in something. The house stays in the family, but it's not my sole responsibility anymore. That's more than fair, Dad said immediately. I'll commit to $25,000 annually. Vanessa bit her lip. I can do $5,000, maybe $7,000, once the yoga studio is established. Marcus nodded. I can match Dad's contribution. Business has been better lately. Then we'll work out the details, I said. The important thing is we move forward as a family. with everyone invested in preserving what Mom left us. We spent another hour talking through logistics, emotions, and memories. Marcus apologized twice more. Vanessa cried and hugged me. Dad kept looking at me like he was seeing me for the first time. As we gathered our things to leave, Martin the realtor poked his head back in. Everything sorted out? Yes, Dad said. There won't be a listing. The house isn't for sale. Understood. Just send me an email, confirming so I can close out the file. He hesitated. For what it's worth, I'm glad it's staying in the family. Beautiful properties like that should be preserved. After he left, we walked out to the parking lot together. The September afternoon was warm, the sky cloudless. When can we see it? Vanessa asked. The house, I mean. It's been so long. This weekend if you want, I said. I'm heading up Friday afternoon. You're all welcome to join. Marcus looked at his wife, who'd been waiting in the car during the meeting. Let me check with Kelly, but I think we can make it work. The kids would love it. Perfect. I'll have the property manager stock the kitchen. Dad pulled me aside as my siblings headed to their cars. Olivia, I need to ask, did you sacrifice anything to do this? Career opportunities, relationships, your own dreams. I thought about the years of 80-hour work weeks, the social life I'd postponed, the relationships that had fizzled, because I was always working. I made choices, Dad, but they were my choices, made freely, and I don't regret them. But you gave up so much. I gained more. I have financial security. I preserved something Mom loved. I ensured our family has a legacy. Those things matter more to me than anything I gave up. He hugged me tightly. Your mother knew. She told me once that you'd be the one to hold things together. I didn't understand what she meant then. I do now. She knew a lot of things, I said, including how much that house meant to all of us. That Friday, I drove up to the lake house alone, arriving just before sunset. The property looked perfect, the lawn manicured, the garden bursting with late summer blooms, the dock freshly stained. I walked through the rooms slowly, touching familiar surfaces, breathing in the scent of Mom's favorite lemon verbena candles that I kept burning year-round. In the library, her books stood in neat rows, organized exactly as she'd left them. In the kitchen, her recipe box sat on the counter, worn index cards filled with her handwriting. I made a cup of tea and carried it out to the screened porch, settling into Mom's favorite rocking chair. The lake stretched out before me, peaceful and eternal, the last rays of sunlight turning the water gold. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Kelly and kids are excited for tomorrow. Thanks for this, Liv. Then Vanessa, bringing Mom's favorite wine. Let's toast to her tomorrow. And finally Dad, I'm ready, ready to come home. I smiled, sipping my tea, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and orange. Tomorrow the house would be filled with family again. Messy, complicated, imperfect family, but family nonetheless. The lake house was safe. Mom's legacy was preserved. And maybe, finally, we could all heal together. We kept it, Mom, I whispered to the wind. Just like you wanted. The rocking chair creaked gently as I moved, the sound familiar and comforting, the same sound that had accompanied countless summer evenings throughout my childhood. Tomorrow would bring noise and chaos, and all the beautiful mess of family. But tonight it was just me and the lake, and the memories of the woman who'd loved this place enough to ensure it would outlast her. I'd spent $4 million and 6 years of careful stewardship to preserve this moment. And as I sat there in the fading light, surrounded by everything Mom had built, I knew I'd do it all again, without hesitation. Some things are worth protecting, regardless of cost. Family legacy, childhood memories, the last tangible pieces of someone you loved. The lake house would stand for another generation, and another after that, exactly as Mom had dreamed. And that made every sacrifice worthwhile.